How are you all doing? I felt very called to do a video about trauma. Not the favorite topic to talk about, but it's the very key that liberates us from the illusion of the 3D matrix. And the reason I wanted to talk about trauma is because we have intense Uranus transits happening next week, meaning that Uranus will be conjunct Venus and conjunct Mercury, so two very, very important planets and personal planets, of course. And Uranus rules trauma signature in astrology. And it's interesting how my life unfolds, meaning that I tend to go through stuff a little bit ahead of everyone else in order to prepare and navigate. And last week after the new moon, I had an intense reawakening, I would say, or reaccessing of a trauma that was so suppressed that I didn't even know it happened, basically. And it shattered my reality. It completely shattered everything in my life, like my whole perception about myself, about how my life unfolded, and how I saw the people, or see the people in my life. And it liberated me at the same time, which is all what Uranus is, right? And whenever Uranus comes into your life, or you have a significant Uranus transit, it is your soul coming through. It's this shocking thing, right, that can be traumatic in itself, but if you see it from the standpoint of it's my soul coming through in order to liberate me, it's so activating. And that's exactly what happened. I went through days of, a lot of crying, a lot of releasing, a lot of feeling these emotions relative to everything that happened for the very first time, and it was not easy. And you always have the choice of letting these emotions dictate your life, and that's what I choose. I celebrated every single tear, every single burst of anger, every single feeling of grieving, of being so upset about it, and the pain, everything. I celebrated it because I knew that it would leave my system finally, especially because it has been something that I always intuitively knew there was something that I didn't know, or that I'm suppressing. There's something still that I'm accessing. I have Pluto in the 12th house, a stellium in the 8th house, so I knew there is something deeper that has a lot to do with my personal story and the struggles that I had, and with controlling and addictive tendencies. And so I knew there was something. I knew, because I'm not stupid, and for the longest time I judged myself for not getting my shit together, right? But at the same time I knew there's a part in me that just doesn't feel safe, and only when I find this part in me that is unsafe, I will be able to heal this. And so I was gentle with myself, even though there were a lot of moments in my life where I judged myself, or the outside world judged me. And that's okay, because I have to have my own back. And if you have something in your life where you feel like I just can't move past that, it's like I'm hitting a wall all the time, know that there is a part inside of you that just doesn't feel safe. And before that part in you doesn't feel safe, it will be very hard. So it's your job as the adult to go to that part in you and make it feel safe. Make it realize that the trauma is not there anymore, right? And it's hard. It's obviously easier said than done, but trauma creates an illusionary hologram, right? The minute we experience trauma, we are recoding in a way, or we are pushed basically in a parallel universe, in a parallel reality, where we see the people that traumatize us, or the event that traumatized us, in a completely different way, or we don't even access the memory. So it's like trauma creates a different holographic illusionary universe, which is really trippy to think about, right? Because the minute you have trauma in your life, you're not living in the truest timeline, because you're not living in a timeline that you've created, but it's really much dictated by the trauma until you face the trauma. And that manifests in different ways, obviously also in the physical body. So your physical body stores the trauma on a cellular level, and that's also it has been my experience, and I've had a lot of support with amazing healers that were really going deep in, you know, also my intestines, my organs, like all of the things where we store trauma, and I was not aware of that. And only because I did that deep cleanse, at least that's what I believe, only because of that I was able to access these memories again, right? Because I was purifying my system on all levels. And I wanted to speak about all of that, and I will probably speak about it more in depth if you are interested, because with Uranus transiting Venus and Mercury, there's a likelihood that the universe brings back memories of traumatic events in our life, in our childhood especially, the deep traumatic events that are stored in our physical body. That's Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus, and that will shadow your reality, shadow your perception, shadow the foundation of your life, which is all Taurus, right? And so obviously it depends on the Taurus area in your chart, right? For me, it's the 5th house, which, you know, it rules so many different things, also my creativity, but also sex and children and all of that. So yeah, it's a lot, right? And I wanted to speak about that because if you happen to access something that you've never accessed before, and you might feel like you're freaking out or you're tripping, or you might not know if that's actually true or just a dream, know that you can always trust your intuition, and that you can also always trust these lingering feelings. You know, if you have a feeling about something, trust that. It's there for a reason. Feelings are always your guides, right? So don't fall back into the trap of the parallel universe, so to speak, that the trauma creates, where we are literally shifted into a different parallel perception where we live in fight or flight all the time. And then addictions, control tendencies, anxiety, the outside world dictates your life. And if that's still the case in your life, you are still hooked into that 3D matrix that wants to control you. You're still hooked into that trauma, right? Trauma always enters our life in order to control us, possess us, and take away our power. So in order to take back our power, we really have to feel that, and we have to use these Uranus transits to reawaken to our connection to the physical body, to our connection to the 5 senses as well, right? And to our connection to our own worth and values. So it's very important that we don't escape that, and that we feel it, and that we really fully allow ourselves to process it on all levels. So yeah, again, we will have Venus conjunct Uranus and Mercury conjunct Uranus. So it's going to be a Uranus heavy week. And on top of that, obviously, we still have Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, and Jupiter makes everything bigger. And Aquarius also rules trauma signatures, right? So there's a lot of trauma movement. So no wonder we are all going through a lot. But at the same time, remember, yes, Uranus, Aquarius, and the 11th house, it's all trauma signatures, but it's also our access portal to the universe, right? Not for nothing, the 11th house comes before the 12th, right? Not for nothing, Aquarius comes before Pisces. It's through the traumatic event that we can also re-access our own connection to our soul and our highest path and our highest timeline. So I'm gonna stop rambling now. I'll probably do a podcast episode about it as well. There will obviously be a forecast about everything as well. And yeah, if you're curious or want to know more about the story or my personal events, whenever I feel ready, I will definitely share more about it. I'm still processing, but I'm just so happy and so grateful that I was able to access these memories. And honestly, it's obviously because I choose to do so. I literally said, like, I want to know why, like, show me, like, whatever, I've done everything under the sun, show me why, what do I need to do? And then everything happened, because when you choose, right, and when you pray and when you speak it out loud, it will happen. The universe will answer.